G'day guys and welcome to another weekly episode of N9G, your one-stop shop for just, general shit talk, fuckwittery, and just two guys figuring their way out through lives. So a bit of a different show today. We're going to ditch out the run sheet a little bit, talk about some different topics. No politics today, I swear. I do try and promise, but we'll see how we go. As always, I'm here with my good friend Turtle. Mate, how you doing this week?
Look, mate, I'm absolutely knackered right now, but, we get up and we get going, and we get on for the N9G video.
We do because we are obligated.
Yep, and we want $1,000 a week from you guys.
Oh, at least.
Yeah,
I don't want to work anymore, eh? I'm
yeah,
sick of it.
yeah, working's too hard.
Let's just all be influencers.
Well, hey, if the Kardashians can do it, then I don't see why we can't do it.
Well, I don't think my tits are big enough for that.
Oh, mine are.
Oh, well, I can film if you want. I can be like the camera guy, I suppose.
uh, alrighty, fellas. So this week, as the chief said, we're going to have a little bit more of a light-hearted session this week. Now we're going to go into AFL Trade Week. Chief, what's some
Yeah.
things in the media that have taken your interest with this week in particular?
Yeah, there's a couple things. So, obviously, Saints fans. So the big ticket one for us right now is the Brad Crouch deal. We'll see. I know Adelaide's going to want to play hardball with that. I think they're asking for pick 2, which I think is a bit ridiculous. But
Oh, it's a fucking joke,
it's a
mate.
piss take. We'll see how we go. The other big story, the other big story is obviously Jeremy Cameron. That one I think from last week, but that one needs to be
Yeah.
discussed because that whatever's going on at the Giants is monumental. There must be a massive culture problem there, and the biggest story out of
Yep.
this week is Collingwood's treatment of Adam Treloar.
Yeah. And that is just utterly disgraceful how they are going about business.
Well, they're not even doing it covertly, And what I mean by that is they're not even hiding their motivations. They're not even doing a good job of trying to make these discussions and make these deliberations behind the scene, and just coming out with the usual media statements and usual club bullshits and having that veil of secrecy. It's plain as day that statement that Collingwood's released that Treloar is difficult to coach just to me sounds like an excuse. It sounds like they have gone, well, he's going to be distracted with his partner moving up, and he's not going to play well, and potentially he'll want to fuck off up north, and they don't want to deal with that.
Mate, it's one of the biggest cop outs going around.
Yeah,
You don't get to be an elite player of the game, and Trelaw is an elite player of the game, being too hard to coach. That's just absolutely ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. And the thing about that line is that it's not as if Trelaw is alone in potentially being difficult to coach or potentially being a difficult player to manage because he's playing for Collingwood. If there's ever a fucking club that employs just dickheads that know how to kick a footy, it's Collingwood.
Yeah, well, it runs right through the club, starting with their president. I mean, he's just king flog as far as I'm aware.
Really, I don't mind Eddie, eh?
Oh, he has his moments. His stance on like the cola from Sydney. I like that,
Yeah,
but like he's just a genuine flog as far as I'm aware, and that's because he is a Collingwood person. So to all my Collingwood fans, screw you guys.
yeah. Eat a dick, Collingwood.
But it also begs a question as well, like, or maybe not begging the question, sorry, but they brought Dane Beams back as well.
Mm.
Now the rumor was that they brought him back and Eddie paid all of his debts.
Yeah, this sort of stuff has sort of plagued Collingwood for a while. I mean, obviously all that stuff that went down with Dane Swan back in the day with his hotels. And now, obviously, the rumor around the Treloar situation is that it's not actually due to Treloar's partner moving up north and him being difficult to coach. It's due to salary cap issues.
It just makes you wonder, like, what's actually happening there? Like, what else is going on behind the scenes that you don't know? And I mean, I've heard a few rumors about Steele Sidebottom, who I thought was an upstanding citizen, but not maybe not as upstanding as the public should think.
Well, I tell you what, one of the benefits of not being, say, a publisher for news or an official news site or channel is that we can absolutely speculate and throw out rumors and not give a fuck. So, mate, rumor away, throw them out. What have you heard?
All right, so what I've heard from a trustworthy source
Yes.
is that, do you remember a few months ago there was an incident where Steele Sidebottom ended up on the streets of Melbourne naked? I think it was earlier this year.
Oh, vaguely.
Yeah. Well, apparently he was out at, I can't remember the player's house, but he was having a few drinks and he was flirting with that player's wife.
Right.
And the host found out about Steele's indiscretions and promptly belted the shit out of him. Because do you remember he wouldn't front the media for about 2 weeks?
I can't say I remember it off the top of my head, but I do remember there's being something with side bottom, so I'm going to trust you on that one. So continue.
Yeah, so he wouldn't front the media for about 2 weeks. And the reason was because he was dealing with facial injuries because the host had belted the shit out of him.
Right.
And for making a pass at his wife.
Right.
Now, which also leads into the hub that they're at, and Sidebottom didn't play the last few games
Yeah,
for the Pies this year.
because he breached the hub quarantine contract they had or something.
Well, that was the reason given.
Yeah.
But he's also fighting a divorce at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. I'm seeing the dots you're connecting.
From his indiscretions earlier in the year, his wife, Steele's wife, has had
Right.
enough of his misdemeanors and is sick of it and kicking him out.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, I found that quite interesting.
Well, I mean, okay, we're gonna have we're sort of on the topic of shitting on Collingwood at the moment. Um, Now, should mention that that situation there doesn't actually reflect on the club necessarily.
No.
That's obviously an individual player's issue. Um, that is what it is. I mean, yes, they're public figures, but they you don't play AFL and sign up to be, a politician or a public figurehead or a role model. Like, if you're good at footy and you just want to get paid for it, that's entirely your prerogative, and you should be free to live your own life and make your own mistakes. 100%.
Yep.
Like, to be honest, I quite disagree with the drug policy with regards to recreational drugs with professional athletes. I think if it's not performance enhancing, what fucking difference does it matter? It's more about media perception and the perception of the club or the organisation they represent, instead of actually bringing into question the legitimacy of the sport or the competition. So on that, in that vein, yeah, if Steele's done the dodgy with someone else's misses, that's shit, that's dodgy, but that is his business. Now, I also want to bring up something else with Collingwood, because there's also, do you remember a little while ago, this was this season, Jordan De Goey, you also had rumours with him with regards to sexual assault allegations that I think they've gone away, or they might be, dealing behind closed doors.
No, mate. He's got a court date
Oh,
coming
does
up.
he? Okay, I've been out of the loop with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. He's got a court date coming up, man. I don't know the date of it or anything like that, but yeah. No, they're going ahead with it.
Okay, well, that then starts to speak to me, because now I'm seeing a few dots on the Collingwood radar. Now, in isolation, all these issues, like, yep, they're individual players' issues. Shit happens, fame, fortune, young men, money, it happens. But yeah, when you have a consistent culture where it's like, okay, more often than not, your top 15 players all have one issue or another, then it's a club culture issue.
Yes. Yeah. You have to look at the building blocks that put in place there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, in fairness, Collingwood is not the only club that had these sort of issues. Richmond's had its fair share. My team, the Saints, during various periods have had their issues.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Carlton in the 90s and early 2000s, we got absolutely
Yeah, 100%.
fucked. Yeah, it's not a Collingwood thing. It's every club, and even more recently, West Coast as well with drugs.
Yeah, yeah. That's been a long term sort of issue with them. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, that's a greater topic about the issues of being a national sportsman, particularly in AFL, but NRL too. Perhaps we'll
yeah, yeah.
speak more to that in a greater context in a longer episode sometime. But yeah, I would, if I'm going to make a prediction, I reckon there's currently a cultural problem at Collingwood. As to the reasons for that, don't know. Yeah, don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Turt?
Um, yeah. Look, I I think most clubs behind closed doors would have a lot of these meetings with a lot of their players, and the media just doesn't get wind of it. I think that
Mm.
most clubs will have a, a in quotation marks a cultural problem because I mean these young kids coming into the system, they think they're invincible. They think that nothing can derail them, and yet sometimes they're their own worst enemy. You know, I mean sometimes they're not. In the case of Ben Cousins and all that sort of stuff, I'm sure he heavily influenced a lot of players while he was there.
Yeah, and probably both positive and negative as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, both positively and negatively. But I'm sure there would have been a few players that never actually played the game to a high standard, or they may have played only 5 to 10 games. They would have got caught up in his little world of fantasy.
Oh, no doubt. I mean,
But he was using him as he was one of the lucky ones to be just brilliant at the game to get by with it.
yeah, I agree, man. I mean, I think perhaps the modern day interpretation of Cousins is dusty because shit, you do not
Yeah,
need to look for more than a minute at the guy to know that come the end of the night when he's finished for a Saturday night and he's kicked his four and he's won this accolade and that accolade, won the game for Richmond at 2 o'clock that morning, he is high on everything possible. Which again, look, my previous stance. I think that's his
well,
prerogative. Like, I
yeah,
think if that's what keeps him going, sure, do it. Just don't fall in the Cousins trap of just falling to that abyss. I would say though, this does speak, and again, we'll get into this format. This does speak to a societal problem
yeah,
with the way we are recruiting
yeah,
AFL players. I think the fact that we recruit players straight from TSC Cup teams or thereabouts when they're 18 years old is very damaging, and invites trouble and invites maturation and development of them as young men, um, because they haven't experienced the real world. And throughout most of their junior career, particularly when they're 16, 17, 18, when none of us are intelligent as males and our egos are through the roof or they're very fragile or whatever, you get told you're superior to your colleagues because you're playing tack up or you're playing, Vic Metro or whatever you're playing, and you're in the academies and the development squads. So you start to look down on other people and you treat people that way. And that means
yeah,
you
yep,
believe that there's nowhere near the same amount of consequences for you in regards to life, regardless of whether that's incorrect or not. You start to believe that. So you think, shit, I can go to a club on the weekend and I can sexually assault this young girl. I can,
and
I
and get
can,
away with it.
yeah, I can force a no into a maybe into a yes, or I can get absolutely sloshed and punch a bouncer or do this substance or whatnot. And no big deal because I just go back to the club on Monday and I'll go to training and I'll go play in the weekend and be a hero and I just rinse and repeat.
Yep, yep, exactly right.
So man, I think it's a greater. Yes, the individuals are at fault, but it's a greater societal issue, and it's to do with the way we recruit. I think at a minimum we shouldn't be recruiting these kids until they're 21 into an AFL system.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting topic, and I think we should put that on the back burner for a longer video
Indeed, indeed.
because we have completely gone off topic from Trade Week.
Oh well.
So let's let's. I think we should wrap that segment up right there, and let's move on to
Sure.
the next one.
Let's do it. What do we got, man?
So, Chief, the floor is yours with flog of the week / grind my gears. Take it away,
Good.
mate.
Good. So these ones, so my flog of the week and my grandma gear sort of meld into one. All right. Bit of a story. So my flog only revealed himself this morning. Now, at the moment, I've pretty much been working nights. So starting at midnight and working till like 8, 9 in the morning for the past 5 or 6 nights straight. I'm also currently in the middle of uni exams and all that fun stuff. So I'm not sleeping effectively. I'm getting very broken sleep and it's not great. So I'm not a particularly nice person to deal with at the moment. But
When are you ever?
still, well, that's true. I'm actively a prick to most people, which you'll find out when we do our special dictator episode coming up soon, viewers. So make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, ring the bell icon. Get you carry a pigeon, you message a cat, whatever it is that you do, and get ready for that one. But anyway, my flog of the week. So basically, what happened was, so the person that's caused my grind my gears for the week has done something, and that's caused me a shit ton of extra work this morning. Right now, one of those jobs is at work. So I work for a particular company, large company that deals with a lot of sensitive national and international information. Right. And with that, there's obviously lots of sensitive documents, papers, materials that have to be disposed of. Now, there's another company that comes along and they, take these big bins out, empty them, bring it back up, and then part of my job on this particular day is to put them all back on the various levels where they were, so the workers can put their sensitive material back in those bins. Anyway, so I'm in the lobby, right, on a particular level, and I've got these two bins on my hands, and I'm heading towards one of the access doors to this level. Now, the access doors are accessed via a swipe card, so, I've got to have a free hand to do that. I've got my hands in the bins, I'm going to the door. This dude who works on the floor gets out of the lift, so he's coming after me, right? He sees me with the bins. He sees I've got my ID tag, my access card around my neck, obvious as day. He jumps in front of
Right.
me to get into the door, opens the door, goes through it, and then goes to close it on me. And then when I go in the door, like with the bin, he sort of turns, stops me, like, oh, can you not get in on your own? Okay, now there's a reason for this because at this particular system, part of the security is it has an anti-passback system, so you should swipe in. Ideally, what should happen is if you swipe in, then it lets you swipe out. Sometimes if you don't swipe in, you just go through, it won't let you swipe out. But I happen to know that's bullshit. It does actually work because part of my job is pretty much to be the fixer of this building half the time. But I'm just like, the dude clearly can see that I'm an employee there. He knows what I'm doing. Why in the fuck would you close the door on me? Like, give you context. This is like 6:30 in the morning. He's just gotten to work. I've been up since at least 11 o'clock the previous night and have gone all the way through. So I've not slept. I'm pissed off. And this fucker closes the door on me. And I just, man, oh God. It took every ounce, every cell in my body not to take one of those bins and just, crumple him up and put him in those bins and put the lock on and fuck him off down to the big skip outside. Because I thought, you big lanky prick of a person. You know exactly what I'm doing. There's no need for that. You've just been anal for the sake of being anal because you're like, oh, well, this dude's just part of the security detail. He's not, he's not a fucking engineer. Is what I can try and be a dickhead.
So he's taken one look at you and thought, I can take this dude.
I don't know how he's done that equation because although, yeah, he was probably about 6'3", but he probably only weighed about 50 kilos.
One of those types.
Oh, just like, so his head, I reckon, weighed more than his trunk. So, and I've gone, in what universe do you think you are capable of intimidating me and trying to big dog me in this situation, mate? If I so please, I can stuff you in one of these bins through the tiny little slit for the mail. I will squish you into a fucking little pancake and shove your ass in this bin, you bastard. So, flog of the week goes to worker of particular company, lanky bastard who shut the door on me and was a dick. Your nomination's been taken, sir, and you're in the hunt for flog of the year. Well done.
Yeah, well done. You're getting 2 prizes out of this, lad.
Yeah,
Well done.
fuck, yeah, fuckhead. Anyway, this segues into the grind my gears. Now, the reason why I was doing this job in the first place, right, that put me on my encounter towards my flog of the week was that so one of my colleagues uh, hadn't done his job the night before, or part of his job, and worst part about it was he lied to me about it, so I didn't realize his mistake until very early this morning. Now, part of that job is taking all these bins, which are, big full size bins you get at your homes, and putting them out in the foyers and whatnot, which means going through all the security doors and all that sort of jizz. So it's a massive fuck around. Now, we have certain time frames, so certain, milestones in the day, starting from about 4 o'clock in the morning, which we stick to. Like I gotta meet this dude to give him this card so he can go access this site, and I got to open up these doors, and I got to disarm this security system, and rah rah rah. Right? It's all simple, but
Hmm.
if you have sort of interruption after interruption, it can it can
Yeah, it can hinder the
it can hinder the
process.
process, and it can push you all the way to the time where you got to swap over the next guard. And me being a conscientious employee and a conscientious colleague, I don't want to pass on bullshit to the next guard because you just don't do that.
That is the that is the biggest load of shit I've ever heard you say.
No, 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 you misunderstand. I refuse to do work for more than like one burst of energy. Like I will get everything done to a subpar standard for 5 minutes, and then I'll go back to like watching Netflix or fucking around. But for those 5 minutes, I'm using at least a half ass, like at least. But my point is, my colleague, don't
Right.
fucking lie to me and tell me that you've done the fucking job. Like, I would have preferred if you had said, "Yeah, honestly, I was just being a lazy prick today and I haven't done it, but like this has to get done." And I tell you what, because I felt for because what happened was this guy, the other company who comes along and disposes of all this sensitive material, right? So he comes along with his two bins and goes into these floors. He takes out the full bins, lifts them up, puts all the materials into these empty bins. I felt terrible for this bloke because I think we have about 10 floors that we have to do, right? And per floor, there's between 2 to 3 of these big bins. You can imagine how fucking heavy a single full bin is of like all the paper for a regular, um, like red or brown recycle, red
Yep.
or yellow recycle bin, right? This poor dude at like, you know,
Right.
7 in the morning had to, I swear to God, lift about 20 of these because I'm not allowed to touch them for insurance purposes because I'm not covered.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Um, because if I hurt my back or something, I'm not covered, so I can't help him. So this poor bugger has had to lift up over his head, struggle to get 20 of these fucking bins because they weren't
Right.
done last week. Get all this shit into his spare bins. That meant multiple trips up and down, out to the
Yeah.
truck
Yeah.
outside, middle of the city. Like it was just an absolute schmozzle, and it stretched out forever. And mate, didn't need to happen. So what grinds my gears this week, viewers, is lazy fucking colleagues who just lie to you about being lazy. Just tell I'm lazy too. I cut corners. Fucking tell me and I'll understand. I go, well, fair enough, but come on, give me 5 minutes and we'll sort this out.
Well, there we have it, guys. Chief hates lazy people.
Oh, fucking oxygen thieves.
uh, all right, mate. So I think we've hit our mark there. Well, you've hit your mark. How about we segue into our last little topic? Do you want to introduce it in, mate?
Yeah, okay, all right. So the topic is essentially the decisions that people make in life that you just assume will lead to positive effects in your life, but you're not sure, and you make those choices based upon advice from other people. And the problem is that it might take you too long in life to realize that, well, actually, no, the advice I got at that time was wrong, and you're stuck in certain decisions, so you make new decisions, and it sort of goes in this circle. An example I like to give is so in Western culture, we typically think, okay, most people go to work 9 to 5 or 9 to 3 or whatever, right? And a lot of them go to jobs they don't like doing because they need the money. And the way
Mm-hmm.
they justify that
Yep.
is okay. If you've got a family, well, that's a different justification, and
Yep.
100% like good on you. If you're one of those people that's doing a shit job just to pay for better lives for your family, You're an honourable person, and I absolutely tip my hat to you. Well done. Um, but to people that don't have families and have the choice and are just doing those jobs because they've got they've got a mortgage or they've got loan repayments on a car or they just want to feed their gambling addiction on the weekend. Why? Why do you just accept what you get given?
Yeah, yeah. Well, why do you do it? Why do you do it when isn't the goal in life to be happy?
Well, that's a legitimate question because people would think that that's an obvious answer. Well, yes, but is it really? Because if you look at society, you look at the majority of people you talk to today, they'll all probably answer yes, that's the goal in life. But how many of them are actually working towards that goal and making decisions um, and following through with actions that lead to that effect? I would argue very little.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there'd be many people that are following through with their passions and dreams at all. Uh, I imagine, and I imagine this is the case for most tradies. Not all tradies, but I don't imagine any number of them would have seen themselves in the position of being a carpenter or a brickie or a whatever it is. Now, absolutely, there are some that you go, rightio, you found your station in life, and you'll do very well at that. But
Mm,
I'm confident, I'm absolutely confident that there'd be a number of people who are now labourers or whatnot, where they've thought, well, well, shit, I wanted to be an AFL player, or I wanted to be a computer analyst or something like that. Something completely out there that requires a lot of effort and time, and people don't want to put that in because they see the rewards from leaving school and getting a full time job straight away. Like I always use the example when I talk to people about sports science.
mm,
You know, my idea, because I did sports science for a year and a half, and my idea of it was that I'll go to an AFL club, I'll work, I'll help, I'll do whatever's necessary. But there's no goddamn jobs in the industry.
no, there's no jobs, and even if you do get jobs, there's no money in those positions either.
Yeah, and unless you want to be a glorified personal trainer, there's no jobs in the industry.
And on that topic, you can make more money being a personal trainer.
Well, yeah, yeah, exactly right. And yet, unis and schools don't tell people that. I'm sure that they have, thousands of kids across the states, across all of the Australian states, say, "Yep, I want to do this, I want to do that in sports science," and every single one of them encourages them to go and do that. Yeah, you know what? Go and do it. You'll be the difference. You'll be the next level. You'll be the next thinker of the industry. Well, fuck that. You're not even going to get a job out of it. You're
Mm.
pissing money down the drain to work at Coles for 4 years, or to end up being a tradie.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm sure just to give tradies a leg up here, like tradies. Um,
Yeah, so I don't mean to shit on tradies or anything like that. It's just that's what kids do when they leave school. If they want to go make money, they go do a
yeah.
trade
So
straight away.
exclusive viewers, Turtle hates tradies. Um,
I don't hate tradies.
um, no, but I do know what you mean. That the fallback, unfortunately, a lot of trades are a fallback for a lot of people, and I don't think a trade ever should be. Um, because
No,
they're a
absolutely
fucking
not.
boatload of hard work. But further to your
Yeah,
point, I completely agree. I mean, the amount of times I think this actually comes back to you've raised the point of schools and unis, and I think they are more responsible for this problem than perhaps people realize. More so schools, more so high schools than universities, because by the time
yep.
you're in university, like you're an adult, you're capable of making your own decisions. Um, you have to accept more of that responsibility. But schools should do a far better job of educating kids about the realities of life. Now, we can argue about the introduction of say diversity units and I mean, stuff like say the introduction of critical race theory like they have in the United States, and like they're trying to do here in Australia, and whether that has any place in educational institutions, which fucking obviously it doesn't, and that's disgusting. Um, but my point is that why is it that we can have discussions about including those sorts of units, and we can have inclusion of just random pointless units, but we do not very little, no more do we have fundamental units like economics in school. Why aren't you taught about economics as a teenager? Why are you taught about how to do a tax return? Why are you taught about how to balance a budget? Why are you taught about taxes? Why are you taught about property ownership? Why are you taught about all these things that are positive and you should aim for, and your little individual goals in life that you should aim for? Um, because I think if you were, then you would realize that, okay, all these things are going to require a fair bit of sacrifice. I mean, look, I think one thing that's positive we do get from, say, our parents and from the West is the idea of short term sacrifice for long term gain. I think that's good. But the long term gain has to be worth it. There's nothing worse, nothing more
Yep.
disappointing than working your ass off and sacrificing for, and short term can be, a week, a month, 6 months, a year, multiple years in the case of a uni degree, because you're taking a step back in terms of your wages that you can receive because you don't have the time to work full time. Um, you're having that short term sacrifice for long term gain, which should be a greater level of wage because you should then, if you're getting a degree, you should get into something that has like minimum 70K a year plus salary. But the problem is, if you don't understand all these concepts prior to making those decisions,
Hmm.
then a lot of these kids, what they just do is go, oh, they talk to your mate to your left, what are you doing? They talk to your mate, right, oh, well, what are you doing? And they all decide the same thing. I remember when you and I went to school, everyone picked the same damn thing because everyone just sort of wanted to stay mates and stay together and go, oh, this is we're all interested in footy and all this jazz, and we just all picked the same thing. And pretty much all of us have either done from that original degree either
Yeah.
gone on to do completely different degrees in completely different sections of society. In some cases, multiple degrees after that, or we're doing nowhere near like you just are doing say for an exercise science degree, you're just doing basic PT successfully, but you're not doing the data analysis, you're not doing the strength and conditioning coaches of elite athletes, whatnot, because
Yeah.
it was a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. And people pushed you towards it because they saw the passion that you had for sport as a kid.
Yeah, and my concern though is like I'm all for kids at that age learning harsh lessons, um, and maturing as a result of those life lessons. But my argument is if we were educating our kids better in high school with these more realistic and pragmatic subjects, then perhaps they wouldn't need to make those mistakes in the first place because they would already have the lesson. In which case,
Hmm.
say in my case and your case, we could have started, say, our new degrees much earlier in life and already be well established in careers and be able to go further. Because, I mean, the unfortunate reality, viewers, is that time is fucking quick. The clock runs down real quick
Yeah.
as you start to approach your
Yeah.
30s. I can tell you that right now.
And it, I even think, we can you can go a step further than what you've all said there too, mate. And starting in an earlier childhood where everyone gets a participation ribbon.
Yeah, that's that's a whole nother discussion, but I'm 100%. Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Like, yeah, we'll put a pin in that little comment because I think we can do a whole episode on that. Um,
Yeah, we've only got a
but
few minutes left, so.
like you used us as an example. We're both onto our third degrees now.
Hmm.
And I've only just started a degree. Personally, that I know that I'm going to be happy with in the future. And it's as you say, yes, it's a little bit of what was the short term loss for long term gain.
Yeah, short term sacrifice for long term gain.
Yeah, I I'm going to sacrifice the next 2.5 years doing this, but I'll now be in a position where I'm actually enjoying my life.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm doing things that I absolutely love.
Well, but are you? Because yes, you're studying what you want to study. That's great. But as a you'll be 30 by the time or 30 31 by the time you graduate. In that time, you've still got to work casually. You've still got to work part time. You're still going to be sacrificing when you're seeing your mates, people your own age, well into having houses, marriage, kids, whatnot, and you're not spinning your wheels, but you're like, geez, you know, how the fuck did they get there, and I'm still stuck back here.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I've already done, in my case, 7 or 8 years of it. What's two more? And as you say, time will go quickly.
Well,
It's just sticking it out now to get to that level where I will ultimately be happy. And that was the whole point of this. Like we started off. You started off. We both started off saying, a lot of people do their 9 to 5 jobs, and they and it's not their field of interest, and they wake up, they hate their day, they hate their day, they just barely scrape through the day, they live for the weekend, and and there's nothing wrong with living for just the weekend. If that's what you want to do, knock yourself out, do it. But I also think, you know, when you find your path, you got to stick to it. And yeah, it's going to suck seeing, as you say, seeing your close mates get houses and start families or whatever's going on. But ultimately, it doesn't matter what they're doing. They're not me. I'm not them. I'm doing what makes me happy, and that's what I think people need to look at.
no, and that's man, I wouldn't disagree with you on that front. I wouldn't. This is perhaps where you and I differ. I think your view of you've done it for 7 or 8 years. What's another two or three? Man, all power to you if you can do that. I think there will come a point where I don't think I could do that really anymore in my life. I mean, perhaps you're just a lot more patient than I am. Um,
I think I am a lot more patient than you are, though,
well,
just in general.
the fact that you have any patience at all means you've got more patience than I do.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, I mean, yeah, good on you for having that. But yeah, at a certain point, I'm like, no, I want to begin. I don't want to be beginning my life as because I think there's that I think you do wake up one day and you look in the mirror and you go, holy fuck, I'm properly an adult now. Like I'm not a young adult. I'm not a young man. You know what the fuck happened to what the fuck happened to that baby face? What the fuck happened to
mm,
to youthful me? And I don't want to waste that. There's a number of things that people don't do in their lives. There's a number of things that I haven't done in my life that I will be regretful on my deathbed if I don't do. And a number of those things you've pretty much got to do in your youth. And so I think there is very much a very strong argument, and it's probably the winning argument for short-term gain,
hmm
long-term, sorry, short-term sacrifice for long-term gain in regards to doing what you love day to day and what is your passion. But I think there is also something to be said of when you put your head down to sleep at each night, are you content with what you've done that day? And if you are left wanting, then I think over time that will sort of fester and become something worse.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's exactly right, and I see it. I see it everywhere in where I'm situated, and there's a lot of people that they wake up in the morning and they're just shitty with what they're doing, and you can tell they're shitty because they treat other people poorly, and it's as you say, it
Yeah,
festers, and then it it like bursts out, I suppose, in a way, and people take their anger out on other people, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, just because you're in a dead end job and not enjoying your life doesn't give you the right to take it out on me.
yeah, exactly. And that I mean that leads to greater issues like assaults, domestic violence, all those sorts of things. So, but drug abuse, alcohol abuse,
Yeah,
all that sort of jazz. So, I mean that they're obviously greater issues for another time. But yeah,
yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. All right, mate. Well, I think we should wrap it up there. What do you reckon?
I think we should because I'm sure we lost the viewers a while ago and they're all asleep or they've switched off to watching TikToks or something.
Hopefully not, because that last 20 minutes or so, I actually think was quite informative, and is an incredibly important topic in today's society.
As do I, and I will. My ego will be thoroughly hurt and damaged if I've lost out to a 16-year-old doing some stupid dance that is the latest craze in American TikTok crap. I don't fucking know. I'm old.
Yeah, I don't even have TikTok, man.
I gotta watch that ticks and talks.
All right, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell notification so you can stay up to date with your local N9G news. I'm the Turtle. Peace out, guys.
Later, guys. Have a good one.